How's everybody doing? Welcome back to my channel. This week I'm gonna be doing an insanely huge cultural piece. So with that being said, let's get this day started. Let's go. I'm truly excited to execute this project. My client flew in from Texas and he's gonna be here for the next 3 days. I don't know if I'm gonna be using all 3 days, but we'll see. But I'm gonna be doing the top of the arm, on the forearm, and the inner forearm.
My name's Thomas. I'm actually coming from Dallas, Texas. I'm getting my outer sleeve and my inner forearm, and we're doing cultural, Aztec cultural.
Are you open to customizing like a cultural piece, or do you have something in mind already?
No, I'm
all in. As you already seen on my social media,
oh, yeah.
I study culture a lot, so I obviously want to connect it to you. What do you want it to represent? So I can kind of understand the significance behind it, so I can connect it to the deities from the Mexica culture or the Mayan culture.
Probably family oriented, you know.
Family?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the majority, right?
Okay.
Family.
That's a lot I can do with that. There's a lot. How would you consider yourself like in the family? What's your role?
I am the leader.
Okay.
Right.
So you're the one protecting the
Yeah,
family,
I
providing.
family, yeah.
Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah. Every sibling works for me.
Okay.
Mom, dad. I turned 15. I dropped out of high school. Grind for a couple years, and then I decided to open my own business.
Wow.
So, open the business, and boom, we just popped off.
Listening to my client's story is actually very inspiring for me, just because him being a successful business owner and the fact that he took a big risk when he was 15 years old to drop out of high school, and then starting his own business at 17 years old, and now many years later he was able to retire his parents. He was able to provide for the family and planted that seed for generations to come. This business is going to get passed on for all his family. One of the things that I was really touched by was the fact that how close he was to his grandma. And that's something that I can relate to a lot, just because I feel like I had a really close bond with my grandma as well. So I know the type of love you get from my grandma is something that you can't describe. So I definitely want to incorporate the grandma into this project and be able to tell her story through this tattoo.
Like, my grandma was a very important person in my life. She was the world, right? She's the person that gave me all the best advice, guided me to be a man. She was just like my glue, right?
As you guys know, I love cultural pieces, and I've been waiting to do a big project like this, and I promoted it on my Instagram and my TikTok, and I booked 3 people that are willing to let me do whatever I need to do, and he is one of them. Tonatiuh, el sol, el dador de vida. He is the sun and the one that gives life. Also known as Nahui-Olin, el cuarto movimiento. He is sitting on his throne, Tonati, el sol, with Olin, the glyph of movement. And in here on the corner, we got the moon with Tochtli, relating to fertility. You can also find Tonatiuh in La Piedra del Sol, Tonal Mashol, or as many of you know it as the Aztec calendar, which is the incorrect name. And we know it's Tonatiuh because he has La Narijera, el aliento de vida, the breath of life. En el Tonalamalt, el libro de los días, which translates to the count of the days, we have 20 days in a month, and every single one has a glyph, and these are called tonales. You can find the tonales in the tonal mashol in this disc right here. And here as well in el Códice Feyer Barimayer. You have Zipacli, Ehecatl, Cali, Quetztepalin, Coalt, Miquixtli, Mazatl, Tochtli, Atl, Itzcuintli, Osomatli, Malinali, Acatl, Ocelot, Cuautli, Costa Cuautli, Olin, Tecpalt, Quiahuitl, and Xochitl. And every single tonal is assigned to a specific deity. Think of it like every deity has a zodiac sign. In this case, Quiahuitl, el regente, is Tonatiuh. Quiahuitl, la lluvia, rain, the one that gives us water to drink. Without water, we have no crops. Es considerado el medio cielo, el que conecta el universo con la tierra, the one who connects the universe and earth. Then we have Tlazolteotl, la gran tejedora de nuestro cuerpo. You can find her in el Códice Feyer Barimayer here next to Chalchutlicue, and this would be called el Cihuatlampa. This is where our bodies are created. Then we go to El Mictlán, so we can get ready to be born. En el Tlahuistlampa, next to Pinzintecutli and Ixtli, there's a reason why your body was created. You're allowed to make mistakes, but you gotta shine bright like the light from the sun. You are a warrior, but you are also a blessing from the skies. Beat the water for yourself, your family, and your friends. Because if there's no water, there's no life. Nikanashka, el aquí y el ahora. The past doesn't matter, the future doesn't matter. Today is what matters. Olin, movimiento. Keep moving forward.
Day one, what I'm going to be doing is freehanding the whole entire piece. My goal is to freehand from the shoulder all the way down to the forearm. On the top, we're going to have Tonatiuh, El Sol, and on the bottom, I'm going to have Kiawilt, La Lluvia, the rain. And the reason why I'm using these markers is because it allows me to really figure out the flow of everything without actually committing. So first thing, I'm going to be using the alpha markers to be able to just trace very lightly how I see the vision and the aesthetics of this tattoo. Once I know exactly how I want it, I'm going to be using the alpha marker purple or even the brown Sharpie to be able to lock it down and be able to see all my lines.
On the way to the shop for day one, I was super nervous, right? Nervous, excited, a little emotional, right? But more than that, you know, happy. Just ready to get the project started. I fell in love right with off the back with it, right? I felt like we touched every portion of my life story in it. So, you know, I feel like when, you know, the piece is done, it's gonna have a true meaning to it.
And I'm gonna be using the cover-up set, but I'm not gonna be using the white today. What I'm gonna be doing is using nothing but solid black with my 14 round liner, running my machine at a 5.0 with my Flux Max, and I'm gonna be using my hand pressure and hand speed to be able to create different tones throughout the whole thing and separate the contrast and the highlights. I'm going to be using my 14 wire liner with a voltage of a 5.0 to really execute this project and give me that stone look that I'm looking for. His skin is a little bit dry skin complexion, so I got to make sure that I leave a lot of open skin and let it breathe a little bit more. Because my client works under the sun a lot, his skin is always going to be sunburned, so I have to plan ahead and make sure that the longevity of this tattoo is going to stay solid for a long, long, long time. I'm using the cover-up set from Dynamic to be able to really put in that deep black into the contrast and contrast it with the bright highlights.
After a few hours in, mentally I was pretty good. Body was doing pretty good. Pain was minimal.
So on this area, what I'm going to be doing is I want to show you guys the way I'm going to be executing the texture on they're little glyphs that they're called, they're like shields. And I'm going to be executing the dimension of it. So I want to show you how I'm going to be able to do that effect. And I'm tattooing, like I said, with nothing but solid black. And I'm using the ink set from Dynamic. And I have my 14 round liner here. And like I said, just solid black, there's no tones or anything. I'm gonna use the pressure of my hand. So first thing that I'm gonna be doing is pretty much starting on this corner here with the scribble technique. And I wanna make sure I have the contrast right. So I'm gonna, with the scribble technique, I wanna make sure that I fade it out slowly. And just a little dots here and there just to make it look like there's some dent in it, like if it was a rock. There you go, same thing here. And the lines don't have to be perfect. You want them actually to be a little imperfect, just so it gives it that illusion that it's a statue made out of stone. I want to make sure that here the area stands out. This is a very important orejera just because I should call it an earring. I shouldn't call it an earring, but I don't know how to translate the actual word to English, so I'm gonna call it an earring this time. And just to finish up the dimension here, I'm gonna go here on the bottom and give it the same exact texture here to make it stand out. And that's gonna give it that feel, like if it's like a disc. There it is, such a fashionable look. I really like the way it makes everything stand out. Very stylish, very fashionable. A couple hours later, I was moving extremely fast, so I started getting this feeling that I knew I was going to be able to finish in 2 days instead of 3, which is really good. That way his skin doesn't get irritated and he doesn't have to come back a 3rd day. But we'll see. As in right now, it's too early to tell, but I'm going to be continuing. If I continue on this pace, I'm definitely going to complete the whole entire arm and a little bit low on the forearm. Towards the end of day 1, I feel like it was extremely exciting to see the way the piece was coming together, especially because I got into this rhythm that I was able to just start adding things without hesitating. And my client completely trusted me into this project, so I was able to just keep adding and adding things to make the tattoo even better.
Towards the end of day 1, I was still excited. Pain-wise, it was still minimal, right? Just certain areas that were, a little sore, but other than that, it was pretty good. I think the inner side right here, this portion right here, been, probably at 8, 9, but the rest of it, pretty easy. And they're closer to the armpit, it's a whole different type of pain.
Day 1 was extremely exciting. I can't wait for day 2. I'm going to be adding tlazoil tail here on the bottom and connected to kiawit. Day 2, since I already have the stencil of the previous day, all I got to do now is put the stencil on the bottom. I did pre-make the stencil for the face of tlazoil tail. All I got to do is freehand around the whole entire face. I'm using the same markers to help me out and really trace it the way I want it to look like. I think the hardest thing about connecting it to the other side is making sure that it flows nicely, and the transition between both pieces is like, I don't know the word for it. I think aesthetically pleasing to look at.
Pretty much knock out, my lower forearm. The same thing how, Mr. Ray was going to the top. So pretty much expect the same thing, right? A little bit of pain, but not too much.
Hours later, I realized that I was moving extremely fast. So at that moment, I knew I was going to complete the whole entire forearm, and it's going to be an easy day. I know it's going to be an easy day. I'm going to be having fun with my client. I built a really good connection with him, so we're just having fun, talking about life, cracking jokes, and just having a good time. The approach that I'm going to be taking on the chin of Tlaltecigual here, it is going to be basically running at a 5.0 voltage Mark 14 round liner, still using the cover-up set from Dynamic, using nothing but solid black to maintain the same aesthetic throughout the whole sleeve. And the number one thing that I'm going to be doing here is, a lot of people take the approach of making the face soft. In this situation, I don't want to take that approach. I want to make sure that it looks like stone, very texturized. I'm not scared to add texture to a female face just because I know the potential of how the aesthetic is going to look like. So first thing I'm going to do is go under here, the chin area, and I am going to treat it with the squivel technique. So you can see that's already creating that texture right there, which I really like it. I'm just gonna extend the chin area a little bit higher, and I'm gonna add a little tiny shading around this area just to make it look a little bit more natural, instead of to have a really harsh finish, but just enough. And you can see how the shape is already getting created. And there it is. I'm going to continue doing the same thing to the rest of the piece, but definitely wanted to go over it just because I know I did the whole entire face here on the top. But I really like the way it's looking, especially with that texture. It's just going to stand out for sure. Very unique. initially had my client for the next 3 days, but I have a feeling that I'm going to be able to complete the whole entire half a sleeve today, just because I feel like the way I designed it, the way I placed it, and all the little details, I feel like they're very simple. And like I mentioned yesterday, he has a very dark skin complexion, so I had to leave a lot of open skin to be able to make it stand out from afar, especially because he's always outside in the sun. His tan line is never going to get better. It's always going to be on a dark skin complexion, so I have to think about the longevity of that tattoo. So that's why I ended up adding a whole bunch of open skin, and I think I'm going to get through it really quick. Towards the end of this project, the only area that I saw him struggling with was definitely on the elbow area. I could see him kind of making faces, and he was hurting a little bit. So I got through it as fast as I could, give him a couple breaks so he can breathe a little bit, give him some water, and yeah, we got through it. The whole entire experience was honestly super exciting for me, because not only did I do a cultural piece, but I was able to connect it to him, to his life story, his business and family. I think those elements are timeless. You can never regret a tattoo like that. You can tell stories, and it's a good conversation starter with whoever you meet in the future. And being able to say, you know what, this tattoo, this is what it means, and I think that's what makes this tattoo very special. Doing cultural tattoos, it just brings me joy, and it makes me really excited. Every time I'm gonna create something new, I know that it's gonna be an original, unique tattoo, because I'm creating it for that specific client, and I'm taking the features that the codices from the books say they used to look like, or the ornaments they used to have, and based on the storylines of each individual deity and tonales and the tonal macho and all these things, right, that relating to the culture, I graph how they explained it on the codices, on the codex, and I create my own specific design for it. So I know nobody in the world is gonna have this tattoo. So I customize it specifically for that client. And I think that's what makes me really happy. And I think that's what motivates me to keep creating more cultural tattoos. The experience that I had with my client was extremely inspiring. I love people that went through a very chaotic time in their life, but they did not let that specific moment define them, and they were able to come on top. You know, for him, when he was in high school, he was going through so much, he was getting into trouble, he was destined to go to jail and be a criminal, but instead he decided to, you know, take the biggest risk that somebody can take at that young age, and decided to drop out of high school and start working, making his own money, and to creating a very successful business in such a short amount of time. And he is 28 years old. It's inspiring.
Man, I'm happy. I'm overwhelmed, a little emotional, but excited, right? Truly love the piece. Came together pretty good. Over the top, right? More than what I expected. Truly, yeah. I'll recommend him to anybody out there, right? He does excellent work. Would I be coming back? Of course. I got many more ideas to do, many more projects. So, you know, expect me in future videos.
Thank you so much for coming back and watching this brand new video. I really appreciate you. Do you have a tattoo that tells a story? And if you do, drop it in the comments. I'm gonna be reading all your stories. I would love to hear the significance of your tattoo. So with that being said, if you're a tattoo artist, I hope you learned something from this video. And if you're a tattoo enthusiast, I hope you were entertained. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.